Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's your boy Freeze with the weekly live stream. And today we're going to be talking. Hold on, let me adjust this a little bit. All right, and today we're going to be talking about. Obviously, we just got Megatronus Prime into the game. So we're going to follow up on a couple of things. Obviously, we talked about them a little bit last week. Um, some things came up over the course of the week, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. And we also we're going to start making some predictions on where we think they're going to go with some of the primes. I know I've got 3 topics already picked out, um, and I see some of you guys already started talking about predictions in the chat. But feel free to go in there, and or it could be a wish list too, like things that you want to see as more primes come into the game. So let me know in the chat, and we will be sure to discuss. And then, um, real quick, I'm gonna have a couple of changes that I made with my war team. Kind of walk through the thought patterns for it, and yeah, all in all, pretty chill stream. Before we get into any of that, let's look at this week's newsletter for the event that is called Age of the Primes. Obviously appropriate for what we got going on. And so it's week 1 of the new saga. And so this is actually the second time that they sent out a newsletter this week because they had to change some things. They had to, unfortunately, they weren't able to do the the community event that they had planned. They had a configuration problem. So Callum was telling me about it earlier today, and but they are going to take those same prizes that would have been in the community event, and they're adding them to this week's event. So that's pretty cool. I know I wasn't a huge fan of the event because it's just like, hey, you're just getting, your new currencies, your new Prime Spark, Universal, and Megatronus Spark. But and that'll let you rank up faster. But all in all, it does work out that they added the stuff from the community event. So it's an individual mayhem totalizer. It is going to be 100K. It originally was, they wanted to do 125 at first. Um, Decided not to do that. After, it was a little bit of pushback from a lot of the family leaders and stuff like that. So some of the rewards that you can get up to 192.5K of Megatronus Prime Spark. Should be enough to raise you up to rank 5. They're saying that you can get 50K Universal Prime Spark. So you can use it for this or you can use it for future primes. 1K your 5-star shards, 150 total shard and total spark crystals, pretty cool. 30 leadership crystals, 200 premium combat chips, 75K premium shards, 5,000 3-star shards, 2.5K 4-star shards, 250K spark and combiner spark. And then they added a couple of rank items, so it was 1 captain rank and 1 major rank. And I think it makes it a little bit more palatable when you start to add, especially the major rank. Obviously they came down a little bit with the Spark and Combiner Spark. For me personally, especially with Spark, there's always time for that stuff. So, I'd rather have more of the unique stuff in here. So, definitely looks a lot better. All right, so with the total shards, they break it down. You either can get you get 25% odds at either getting 25 5-star shards, 100 4-star shards, 200 3-star shards, or uh, 1.5K premium crystal shards. All right, total spark hasn't changed. You got 11.11% odds at either 5K, 7.5K, or 10K of your sparks, combined sparks or combat sparks. And then the leadership crystals, So you got opportunities to get the captain rank, a 1% chance at that, 3% at sergeant, 6% at corporal, and then you can get either 5-star shards or combat shards. So you get 15% odds to either get 50 of your 5-star or combat shards. It'll either be 50, 25, or 10. All right, so here is your prize chart. And it's pretty cool because they moved. One thing I noticed is that they moved up your last amounts of Megatronus Prime Spark, and then it starts to go to total shard and total spark crystals at the end, and then there's a major rank at the end as well. So realistically speaking, you can do it just up to, if you just want to do it for the Prime Spark, you can do it up to 87.5K. I do perceive that as a positive change. Because if you're not worried about the rank, or if you're not worried about the total spark and total shards, then you're good to go. All right, typical battle zones, then plus the mayhem multipliers for them. All right, and they did a lot of Q&A in here, so we already talked about a lot of the primary info last week. That didn't really change much, and we actually covered a lot of this material. We'll talk about a lot of it as we go, but if you hadn't checked this out, go ahead and check it out. Because I'm actually going to talk a little bit about just some of the common concerns that people have had this go around since they actually got released. And it's also reminding you to actually do the campaign because, a lot of people didn't realize that the campaign was in there. The first Prime's free, you know. So, yeah, if you're over HQ 8 or above, then you can go in and go get your Prime. All you have to do is just go beat the campaign for it, which I still didn't actually take videos. So I shared it with a couple of people, like in line app and stuff like that. But um, they pick the teams for you. Overall, it's not hard. All right, so I do want to look at this real quick because it does have quite a bit of bug fixes. So they fixed an issue where Megatronus Prime could equip power cores and combats. So I'm actually going to stop and talk about that real quick because I find this kind of interesting. Well, actually, I'll come back to it. They also, so yeah, you could equip power cores and combats. That's not supposed to be the case. So that's fixed. They also fixed the issue where Megatronus Prime could be selected for dispatch missions. Basically, stuff it was treating them like a bot, so that's not supposed to be the case. So that should be fixed. Let's see. And along with that, with the dispatch mission, what will happen is if you send them off on a dispatch mission, then obviously you can't use a bot that's on a dispatch mission. So that won't be happening as well. And it says it fixed the issue with Megatronus Prime's passive effect, Dark Flame, expired instead of being constant. And they fixed a minor issue where the Prime Relics campaign projectiles from Megatronus Prime's entry ability weren't firing from the location of its cannon. Now, this is the big one right here. And, ooh, I didn't realize this screen actually isn't wide enough for... Alright, well, I have to adjust that later on. But one key thing that people picked up on in the newsletter and were pretty upset about was them removing the primes from elimination mode. Now, here's the problem, and I'm just going to be as transparent with you as I can. So, a lot of people were upset about that. Me personally, I'm not upset that they are removing them from elimination mode, only because, for balance purposes, I think they're trying to make the primes really, really exclusive and make it take some time for you to level up. Because I think that for me, the primary way of making them stronger is going to be to level them up. Uh, to the point that, last week when I was showing them, and I only had them at like level 20 because on the playtest server, you know, I mean, we could just keep doing battle after battle after battle, but I know in playtest that um, the amount of bases we have are very limited. And so, because the amount of bases we have are very limited, it's prone to not having any bases for you to fight and stuff like that. So, uh, I did have the team level mines up a little bit. So mine's is at level 50. They did, we talked about it, and they were like, "Do you want it?" We were gonna max it out. We put it at level 50 because honestly, it's pretty decent at that level. But just to show it a little bit higher than what we had, so we will look at that a little bit later on. But as far as the elimination mode, I honestly don't care that it's not going to be elimination mode. I actually kind of like the way they did it for this first prime. We'll leave it up there for a little bit, um, so that way people can kind of go ahead and start the process of leveling and stuff like that. A lot of people, I've seen some level 40s, 50s already. Just from people doing elimination mode. And cool, man. I think I got mine to like level 44. The problem is when I look at this and it says they weren't supposed to be introduced in this mode. Um, mm, that's a tough spot for me because two things. When you go and look in the questions and the answers, and let me see if I can find it. But it tells you in there. Yeah, it says which game modes can primes be used in. All modes. They also will not go on cooldown in elimination mode. So I think they might have misspoke here. I know a lot of people was just like, "Hey man," they flat out lied. Um, I don't think it's that. I think they just kind of misspoke here about it not supposed to be in elimination mode. But honestly, I think it's kind of deliberate. I think that when you get a new piece of content and you're giving it away for free, yeah, man, you want to let people level it up because they're going to be more of these soon. And because they're going to be more of these soon, um, what you don't want is for there to be an imbalance right at the gate. So if you let the people who get the free one go level it up, then later on when other people get the new ones, say, hey, at least everybody should have a prime at that point. So for me, um, when I see somebody write one thing up above and then write the opposite down there on the bottom, I'm just going to take that as a mistake. Um, Either way, they do plan to take them out of elimination mode soon, and or at some point. And it'll be kind of consistent with how they do with other stuff. Like it's kind of consistent with how they started off with Titans were in elimination mode. They left them there for a little bit and told us, "Hey, we're going to take them out after a while, so enjoy it while it lasts." Or even when combiners were doing damage, they say, "Well, we're going to leave it like that for." Well, I'm not sure if they said we were going to leave it like that, but they did take it out. So when they were doing damage to the HQ, so it's consistent with their other works. I'm not upset about it. I think that's misworded right there, but um, you know, I'll probably ask them for clarification or to go out there and just to say, hey, we messed that up or whatever it is, because what I don't want when what I don't want them is for people to think that they're lying, and when clearly they made a mistake because the exact opposite was written up above. Either way, it's going to be gone, and so is what it is. Let's see. So Metroplex and Tripticon been activated in the Shard Exchange after a fix was implemented, which caused the issue. So apparently, there's a specific type of developer that they needed for that particular bug that they were having. Um, so it was really just some labor issues, and then Callum actually came into Discord onto my personal um, Discord server today, and he started explaining a little bit about it. So shout out to him for that, because you know, I'll be honest, I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was like, man, they should have prioritized that better. And it wasn't that it wasn't a priority; it was more of that they needed a specialized developer for that, and they actually in the process of bringing on more staff so that we don't run into those problems again. All right, so they're working on more leadership council applications, so y'all should see that soon, just to bring more voices to the council. That is one of the better places in the game to kind of separate from the madness, sometimes the Cybertron and all that kind of stuff. And so hell, I'm in leadership again. I might apply to go get back in there. All right, you got new Cyber Pass, so that's what that's looking like. I just got mine earlier, and then they said the saga schedule will return soon. And basically saying they had quite a few changes they got to make. They can confirm that next week's will also be individual, and they with a community. Wait a minute. Nah, I think that might have been copied from last time. Let's see. Be sure to check out all your content creators, myself, Soldier, Sunstreak Kawaza, and CF. For your official ones, make sure you check out your unofficial ones as well. Many of them in the chat. So if you want to share your links, feel free to do so. And that's all we got for the news this week. So let's go over to the chat and see what we got out here. All right, so first in the chat, it looks like we got Big Blade 297, one of my good friends and moderators. Thanks for joining, buddy. Fellow content creator too, so don't leave that one out. Actually was talking about his content earlier. He's saying that he's doing a 5-star pool, so good luck to you on that. Hope you get what you're looking for out of your 5-star pool. Since probably like everybody got like their meta makers and stuff now, so we got the homie Blade 19 with us again, one of my good friends and members. Thanks for joining, buddy. Excuse me. As well as another one of my good friends and fellow content creator, Twilight Tier, one of my members as well. Thanks for joining. We got the homie Michael Cooper with us once again. Thanks for joining, Michael. I see a bunch of talk about things they could do with the primes. That's good. All right, we got the homie Chris Harmon, one of my very first members and one of my moderators as well. Good friend of mine. Thanks for joining, Chris. I never got to answer your line message either because I was out there cooking. But yeah, we'll talk about all that stuff here on the stream because I never got to answer your line message. All right, we got the homie Andrew Stevenson. It's morning over there where he's at. Good morning, Andrew, and thanks for joining. We got RG joining us again. Thanks for joining, RG. We got the homie Nemesis Enforcer joining us again. Thanks for joining, Nemesis. We got Candyman, one of my good friends and members. He got the fire emojis and everything. Said Megatronus is here. Yes, he is, and welcome, buddy. Let's see. We got Razorhorn74 with us again. Thanks for joining, homie. He says he wants to see Onyx Prime. Yeah, the thing is, I would love to see. I mean, we're gonna eventually get all of them, but I would love to see them do. I don't know, something kind of related to like have some kind of ability that, since they're in like a support role, that works with the prime cores and stuff. So, and if they had an Onyx one, I'd be all over it because I got 3 tanks on my team. Well, 3 warriors, I should say, on my team. All right. Yeah, Candyman. Yeah, everyone's leveling the Megatronus, I think. All right, we got Eric Lautenschlager, um, one of my teammates and everything, good friend. Thanks for joining. Now, I'd say you won't late to the chat, man. Like that's the boring part of the. That's the boring part of everything. Yeah, we got actual Megatronus in the chat. Thanks for joining Megatronus. Oh shoot, Twilight Tear just got free chicken and pizza, man, on football Thursday too, man. Like, look, let me get some. All right, we got Fox the Bomb, one of my good friends, members, moderator, all that. Thanks for joining, buddy. Moderators ain't really got much choice. Hey, we got James Harvey joining us. Thanks for joining, James. And I missed some people, didn't you? Because Berserk is in here. Someone, yeah, I see Berserk joined too. All right, so thanks for joining Berserk. All right, so let's go over, and if I miss anybody, feel free to tag me in the chat. Sometimes this thing jumps around when I'm live streaming. So, all right, so want to talk a little bit about Megatronus again. And so this time I actually got him a little bit higher. I think I had him at like level 23 last week or somewhere in the low 20s. And so like even now as I got him up to 50, he's got a little bit more uh health and everything. And this artifact should be coming soon as well. So um I was talking with some friends earlier and we were kind of taking guesses at how this stuff would work because it seems like to me like it'll just be easy to just have the primes replace the endurance bot and have the artifact replace the combat, but it'll just kind of be, and even though that is what they said they were planning on doing, I think what we're trying to figure out is like what the events will actually look like. So a friend of mine was saying he wanted them to put the um put the prime earlier in the event because the concern was that you would go run out of, or you could be later on doing an event for a prime that you don't have. Now, it's two ways that I can figure to combat that. One way could be kind of like they did with the Dino King and Raiden parts, where they just ran like, just recently they ran like a fourth event for that so people could do it again. Some people don't like that. Some people's like, well, I already got that stuff, but there's going to be Universal and Megatronus Spark in that event also, so you can continue doing your ranks. Um, so they're going to be needed. So I would venture to say that maybe they repeat, not necessarily repeat the event again, but give you more opportunities that way. That would be my prediction. Or maybe they won't. Maybe you just have to wait it out and however that comes out. But I'm going to make some more predictions later. So that's what we're talking about. But the key thing that I wanted to emphasize is, you know, I had a bunch of people that were, people that I talked to on a regular basis, and they weren't mad at me, but they were just like, myself and a couple content creators showed off this thing last week just to see what it did, and it was dying and all kinds of stuff like that. Like I had mine's is like level 20. I saw somebody that had theirs is level 37 or something like that, and so the default setting that most people have is like, yo, we're watching this, and they was like, yo, this thing is ass. But then I tried to walk it back, and I was like, hey man, like we're using this thing at a really low level, so there's not any piece of content in this game that I think that if it goes all the way up to level 70 and you're using it level 20 or 30, that it's gonna look good. And my intent was just to show everybody what it looked like because I knew that it would be back out before I streamed again. So, but now now I got it at 50. Right now I got it at rank 6. And that's it. I'll add some stuff to it because one thing that I like about this is it's gonna add, you know, damage to. It's gonna add to your passives, and then so I'm gonna actually carry them all the way up and see what it looks like at the tail end. Since I got all this Megatronus Spark, I'm on a play test server right now, so that's why I got all this stuff. Alright, so I got him up there at max rank. So let's see what we got here. So the max rank, that ability. So you moved it up to 9%. That Dark Energon is going to reduce the DPS by 9% and increase their fire damage received. Okay, cool. I missed that part because Megatronus has got to do something with fire. So, um, reduce DPS and increase fire damage, and we already in the fire meta. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. And then I do like that absorption shield that it uses. It keeps him pretty tanky. So I'm actually going to give him a run real quick, uh, having him at a higher level. So it's a couple of concerns I'm going to talk about as we go through these demonstrations. And so the first thing is I just want to see what he actually looks like at level 50. And bro, I damn sure want to see what he looked like at level 70 at some point. But that's it. Dale did ask me did I was 50 good enough. Well, he sent them to me at 50. He's like, is that sufficient? And then I actually used them. I was like, yeah, you know what? That's actually better than I thought it was gonna be. I thought I needed to have it at like 60 or 70. So I ain't even mad at it. So the biggest thing is you gotta get a certain amount of base down before you can use them. But here's the thing, and I'm actually gonna bring up another talking point while we're demonstrating what he does, because here, I chose Blast Off because there's a tactic that people are using that I'm not quite sure if it really should stay like that. And so what they're doing is flying their jets out, and you can see that the jet has a circle. Basically, that's going to be a deployment pad for your Megatronus. And when you do that, watch what happens. So now you can deploy them all the way up to the top of the screen. And as you can see, that popped all the outposts. Now, players are already started doing that. Um, it's a little bit of an exploit. You know what I'm saying? Um, Me personally, and this is just my opinion, I think I think the Yodo team should probably either do one or two things. Um, they could make it so that they don't pop outposts. I don't prefer that. I'd rather they just were able to pop outposts. The other thing I think they could do is not allow you to deploy Megatronus Prime or any other primes to a bot that's using an ability. I just think, and I already see some of the comments. Candyman says, I like that he pops outposts and combiner. I do too. I don't like that he can do it the way that I just did it with that air class spot. So I think that's going to be a little bit exploit. You know, you already got a lot of top players complaining that the game is too easy. I think that, especially because the current base designs are one of the one things that are actually keeping them difficult. Um, I can't foresee. I can't foresee the Yodo team leaving it like that. To be honest with you, but let me know your thoughts in the chat. Um, should you be able to go airdrop him off of a jet or something like that? I mean, I guess technically you could do something like that with. Well, no, because you wouldn't do that because Dead End and Cup would have already popped the outpost, so you wouldn't do that. Blade 19 said he did that earlier today. Yeah, I know a lot of us were in the chat talking about it on Discord. Um, I mean, like with all things, it's fun while it lasts. But kind of like I was saying about the elimination mode thing, like when I saw it, I knew it wasn't going to last. And one of the things that made me know, and hopefully this doesn't crash my playtest when I do this, but one of the things I didn't that I knew is that when I was on playtest, we were doing it on elimination mode, and so I know definitively we had conversations about Prime being in elimination mode and stuff, but it wasn't working properly in elimination mode. So I know definitively that we were attempting at least at one point for this thing to be in elimination mode. That's what made me think it was more of a mistake, especially that, and it was written at the top of the newsletter as well. Oof, I can my cursor. But other than that, you know, he's pretty cool. I just didn't yeah, that was those are the key things. I was actually surprised when that didn't come up on the bug list earlier today as well. But a lot of times what I'll end up doing, like especially as I get closer to like outposts and stuff like that, I'll see like who's coming out of the outpost and I'll use him with his shield to just kind of soak up some, you know, be a meat shield and soak up some extra stuff. I mean, like the rest of the stuff he does is cool. You know, the Requiem Blaster and Dark Flame and stuff like that. But because he's got that 80% absorption shield, yeah, I like using him. I like using him for that. I'll wait till you get a little bit closer. But yeah, and this is another thing, that pathing that he has, or his AI mechanics, like bro, he walked right past the outpost bot. That I don't like because it did that to me a couple of times in game too. But you know, if you don't mind them, I know some people were talking about like theirs died too early and stuff like that. You know, if he's gonna pop all the outposts at the top and I don't have to pay to pop those outposts, um, man, it might wind up being a strategy that I use later on. So who knows? But I do think that um, with the event and like us not having a community event, you know, earlier today, people were upset about that, and people were upset about that in the future we're not going to have elimination mode. Um, I actually just appreciate that the team was quick about communicating all of this stuff because the last thing I want to do is fucking six months down the road they take all this stuff away. So that's always what I try to avoid. Um, yes, ideally everything will be perfect the first time, um, but nah, man, I think they did a good job with developing the content. I think they did a good job in response. You know, less than a 24-hour response to go get some of the stuff fixed. And overall, I'm pretty excited about not just Megatronus Prime, but the Primes overall. And so, um, Let me see what else. Let me look at my notes because I want to make sure I ain't miss anything. I also want to check the chat because I've been talking a lot. But yeah, one of the reasons why I actually don't mind the elimination mode thing is because, man, honestly, like people be maxing out shit the first day, bro. Like, and then be bored. They get out there and they be like, all right, well, what's the next piece of content? But all right, man. Like we always complain about, like, hey, I don't have anything to do. I don't have anything to burn XP on, and now you do, and now it's gonna be, eventually 13 of these jokers, and on top of that, you're gonna be able to, you're gonna be able to take some time and level them up. Like I said, I imagine there's still gonna be some people that have them maxed out this week, but if it's easy to do and I can pull it off, I'll try it. But the biggest thing for this dude is he doesn't have any cooldown, so you can use him every single battle that you want. One of the complaints that I heard was people saying that they didn't, they were saying that they didn't like that. If you use him, you're always going to be sharing XP. All right, well, I mean, and some people were just like, hey, I'm not going to use them because I want to level bots. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. After you've been in the game a certain amount of time, um, like it stops being stuff for me personally that's a priority to level. It just does because I'm just like, bro, like what could I possibly be out here leveling? The hell is this shit? Okay, so it's gonna be Requiem Blaster shards and everything. Alright, cool. So now they actually adding a lot of little stuff that you can use for this. So it might be a lot of different currencies. So we'll see how it goes. All right, let me go look at the chat. All right, and I still keep forgetting to put and it's probably because I was cooking today before I started on stream. Because CF got some of the data sheets, and I still need to make a spot on my Discord for the primes so that we can keep up with all that information. So I still got your data sheet CF, so I'll throw that in there. Man, like, look, after I leave stream on Thursday, I go directly to watching football. So and I'm old, so I just be forgetting all kinds of shit. But yeah. So yeah, Blade 19's right. They didn't give out any spark for them yet. That'll be tomorrow during the event, and that's a good point. Um, Blade 19 made a point, and like I said, we are going to do some predictions here in a bit. And one of the things he started talking about was, maybe they will do a primes only batch. That does leave the question, like, how are they going to release this to anybody who doesn't do the first time, obviously it's in the campaign, but how are they going to release this to players later on? You know, um, hmm, like I don't know because is it something that you want to do, kind of like they do combat? So I think sometimes you might get a combat, sometimes you might get a prime for that particular event, or maybe they start making different events for all of this stuff. So it gets tough after a while. I will say, me personally, a prime event comes out, I'm gonna go for the prime, 100%. I may or may not go for the combats because right now I'm in a surplus of combat shards. So depending on what it is, I might just wait the 8 weeks or whatever it is. For I might wait for it to come into the batch because they come into the batch relatively quickly overall. Yeah, Twilight Tier was doing some crunching some numbers, and he was saying he sees that at 40 he's around 12K, at 50 he's around 22K. So that would mean that at level 70 he should be around or near 42K, which is pretty good. And if that is the case for sure, then yeah, nah, I'd agree with you. It definitely would be pretty good at that point. So especially with them having a shield. So just like having another it'll be just like having another tank out there. Yeah, Ian Adamson joined and thanks for joining and says when that prime is at rank 10 and max, that'll be a huge problem. At 40-ish rank 1, not so much. So yeah, that I agree with. Let's see, Michael Cooper says with his first battle with him and he died in seconds in prime. Yeah, and I just think it's one of those things that as we level this dude, he'll start to have more value. But yeah, nah, mine's died in prime too. Um, you know, pretty quickly. And that was even when I got him up to, I think I got him up to like 44, like I was saying, 43 or 44. All right, Croto had dropped by for a little bit. Shout out to him. Make sure you check out his content if you had it. His channel link should be in there as well. On when you click on his profile. But he had just jumped in for a second to say hello. Had other stuff to do. Um, but yeah, thanks for stopping by and saying hello. All right, Twilight Tier asked me, and thank you for the reminder. See, I always got at least one dude to always keep me straight when I start rambling on, because he before it was Cicada, and now I got Twilight Tier. Um so there was a bug in the game this week for the Megatronus Prime. Basically, it was allowing you to add power cores and combats to it. Um, and they were talking about it earlier in the newsletter. So I was telling Twilight, I was like, I got a theory. So now I want to do some predictions on what I think could potentially happen for the Megatronus. Well, for all the primes really, but we'll start with Megatronus. So I made 3 predictions. I might have a couple more as I go keep talking. But when I see this, when I see that somebody went into the game and made like essentially what looks like a bot page, like you would have for a normal bot, and it says that you can add power cores and combat bots to it. What that leads me to think, like you don't make this stuff for no reason. Like you could just go into the Prime Lab and look at them, like I'm doing on this screen, right? Like you could always do that, but somebody took the time to make this, and what that tells me, like, well, and nobody's saying this to me. This is just my prediction. If they made it a spot where you could put power cores in there once, something makes me think that maybe you can use maybe like a prime core or something in the future, and it's just not unlocked yet. Like, why the fuck would somebody make this? You know what I'm saying? If they weren't gonna use it for anything, you know what I'm saying? So, my first prediction is that I think that at some point, I don't think they're going to be all power cores. I think they're going to let you maybe put like a prime core on there or something, and you'll get like a really nice bonus for it in the future. But let me know what you think about that prediction. Maybe it is power cores. Who knows? All right, I did not take a picture of the bio because I said this is actually your screenshot, Twilight, but I did not take a picture of the bio. Yeah, and so Ian Adamson says that beware they clutch the fix for equipping the primes. You can't find them in the list, but if you scroll to the end of your 5 stars, you can still find it. So that makes sense, my theory. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't start thinking that until I saw this. When I saw this, I was like, huh, like why would anybody even take time to design this? Like, like I'm still not working, but my last job, I was an instructional designer, so like I design stuff, and a lot of times, it won't look exactly like this, but like this is something like I would build, and this is something that I would build, and I would not take my time to build this if there wasn't a reason for us to have that. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Um, yeah, Twilight, if you want to, yeah, you can send me a screenshot of the bio, and let me see if I even have my. I'm not even sure if I got mine's open. If I don't show it today, then I will show it. I will for sure show it. Actually, I can probably show it in a little bit because I think I'm gonna switch to my live account for a little bit, and if I do, then I can just go pull it up on Discord from my phone. If my phone is even charged enough, so. So Blade 19 asked the question, what are they going to bring out to counter them? So Blade 19 just kind of read into my one of my other predictions, and I said, I think here's what I think, and this might just be a wish list item for me. This is what I think will happen. I think that they're gonna make a new power core, and that power core might do more damage to primes or something, or um, and that this one might be a stretch, or certain prime cores could like um do more damage to a prime or something like that. So for me, and I'm still here, I'm gonna grab my phone cord. Well, no, I'm not either because my phone cord is in there. Um, but yeah, I think they might make like a like a anti anti prime core or something like that. And it got me to thinking, you know, with HQ 19 around the corner, I wonder if at some point they will build like something specific, something unique for for MDS. Like if they will build specific power cores for that at some time. So yeah, I see a couple. I see DC said copy paste coding. Yeah, I mean they do use that a lot. All right, so let's see. Twilight Tears sent. All right, let's see if I can go get that bio up there as well. And I did read it when you sent it earlier. I just didn't take a screenshot of it. So now that I have a screenshot of it, I can probably add it. Just give me a moment. I'm actually going. Let me step away so I can get my phone charger so that we can actually stream that part. So give me a second. All right, so let's see. Get my mirroring software up. But while I'm doing that, let me continue to look through the chat. so yeah, Blade 19 says they did say during their stream that there's going to be a use for having multiple primes, so maybe it's got something to do with that, possibly. And the possibilities. Honestly, with this one, I'm really excited about this because the possibilities are pretty limitless. To be honest with you, so we'll see how it goes. All right, so I now have my screen up for. I'm gonna go back to this screen, and we can just change the gameplay real quick. All right, so this is the bio that Twilight was talking about. So let's see. Megatronus Prime, aka the Entity, is a fallen prime. One of the original 13 primes created by Primus, is a last line of defense against Unicron. Megatronus Prime betrayed his fellow primes and became the Dark Herald of Unicron. Despite his apparent allegiance to the Chaos Bringer, Megatronus Prime retains a large degree of agency, and his grand plans should be often differ from those of the being he purports to serve. However, his tireless pursuit of cosmic entropy and dissolution of all realities makes Megatronus Prime, if anything, a far greater threat to existence than that of his master. So, you know, I think we were talking about it earlier, like just with the references to Unicron and stuff like that. So he said that was quick. Nah, man. I mean, like when you on live stream, like trust me, one of the things that I learned on live stream, like if somebody make a request, look, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna have to be able to do it quickly. So, but yeah, no, that's the So yeah, and a couple of my friend groups were talking about this today because they was like, are they gonna try to bring like Unicron or something like that? I don't know. Yeah, and I didn't talk about that before, but if you use the other thing we were talking about, like if you um, like they should have fixed all of the stuff with the power core, but if you use the power core, what it'll do is it'll make the game crash, and then as soon as you take the power core back off, it'll work again. Yeah, and I agree. I was thinking the same thing. Big Blade 297 said, starting off strong with the fallen evil prime, aren't we? Yeah, like I wouldn't have thought that'd have been the first one that they use. I'm not mad at it though, but sometimes games will do stuff like that just to generate hype. That you use one of your more popular ones, and then as they go along, and Transformers Earth Wars does that from time to time, so I'm not overly surprised. Okay, so and here's the thing: I never actually did it because like I knew that the power cores weren't supposed to make it crash. Like I was told that both of them were making it crash. I know Twilight Tier said he's saying that the combats made it crash, but he also still had the power core after they said it was fixed too. So I don't know what they had, man. What you had going on? You got some special account? Chris said his never took the power cores. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Ian Adamson said that they're releasing them in the same order that Hasbro was doing it. This is marketing after all. I mean, that's a great point. That's a great point. Because I actually was looking at it earlier today. I was looking at the Megatronus Prime tour that they had. So yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it makes perfect sense, and it also makes sense why it would have to line up during a certain time period as well. So yeah. Nah, DC saying the same thing. It's one of the more popular Prime toys out of the Age of Primes. Bot in the game encourages people to buy the toy. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, marketing in its finest. Definitely cool with that. All right, so I made two predictions. I said that I said earlier that I think the primes will be able to permanently be able to do something with the prime cores. I also said that I think that there'll be a counter. I said I think the counter will be like maybe a power core or something like that to try to fight against them. But the one question that always comes up, the one question that always comes up. Oh, that's the wrong screen. The one question that always comes up is, are they usable on defense? And last week I was saying no, but you know what? Maybe they will be available on defense. And I think some of the Yodo team like kind of alluded to it. They didn't want to give away too much right away because let's be honest. If they tell us that it's going to be on defense at some point, we're going to bug them until it's on defense. But yeah, I think at some point they'll probably be prime. I think there'll be a prime, not lab, but beacon, maybe like a prime beacon. And the cool thing about it, because if you look at it like a combiner beacon, yeah, you don't got a lot of space to put stuff, but if you find, but you can make space to put that, and it's not like a destroyable building or something like that. So, um, if they do it kind of like they did the combiner beacon, I can see that being cool and being something to add to defense. And as they give more effects on defense. But I don't think this is something that they want to do right now because you already got a new building coming. You already got HQ19 coming. That's something I could see happening like maybe like a year from now after we get multiple primes and multiple ways that you can use them on defense. So, um, yeah, I could see that. So let's see. Hey, Esclohasi joined the chat, one of my good friends and members. Thanks for joining. All right, Blade 19 says here, any talk about a Cyclonus Legacy event. Well, I mean, that kind of stopped after they actually released Cyclonus as as the 5 star. So I don't think they're doing one at this point. Um, that's the event they wind up doing for Exhaust instead. Oh no, was it Exhaust? I forgot already. Yeah, that was the Exhaust. They wind up doing that and not Cyclonus. So now there hasn't been any talk about it. I don't think there actually is going to be one. I think that everybody gonna have to pull them out the batch. All right, I should have stayed where I was at because I was already on my live account, and I know I was gonna use that for something. Oops, I was gonna use that to show what I was doing with my war team. So let me go back to that, and I probably hold on because I'm doing all kinds of screwy stuff. Uh, all right, log in to my actual account, my live account. Hey, Berserk, I actually like that idea. He says, just make the Prime Lab the signal risk reward. Maybe make it undestroyable until after the Prime pops. Yeah, now I can see that. That'll be cool. All right, so I want to take a look at a couple of little changes that I made my war team and the reasons why I made them. Because right now, and you can actually see my Megatronus Prime up there. Let me see where I got him at. Like I just kind of stuck mine's in AO where I just stuck mine in the front. Yeah, so mine's is just under 44. Yeah, so I was right, it's 43. So, and that's what he looks like there, like 14.5K, so not too bad. So obviously I got him on the squad now. But I made a couple of changes, and the biggest change that I made, um, I was playing a battle the other day, and even though I was pretty confident that I could come back and beat it the second time, I was looking through some replays, and I was looking at some replays of Blot because one of the things I always try to have on my teams is some sort of outpost popper, and I had went away from it for a little bit, and I kept finding myself trying to reach to pop outposts. So I was, a lot of my teammates they'll do the dead end cup sack, but I just don't like losing a bot that early in the battle, and like a lot of times, so I would delay sack, and everybody was like, nah, open with the sack because for good reasons, because like you would wind up having your bots go up to the outpost instead of having the outpost walk down to you. And so for me, I said I and I had been waiting on this power core for a while, and I realized that after I opened up a bunch of my meta makers and stuff, like while I was cracking crystals, I wound up having a G1 Blot. So I said I instantly, once I realized I had it, maxed it out. And so the durability that I'm getting out of Blot at this case really makes it worthwhile for me. So I went back to having him on the war squad. And then I'm still playing around with combinations. I still put Lancelot up there because for a lot of my warriors, I've been giving them some sort of anti-hack. So that's what I just gave him. But, you know, this is what I be saying a lot of times when people be asking me about setups and everything like that. It's like sometimes the best setup is not always going to be the setup that you need, if that makes any sense. Like, this is a setup that I love with Bludgeon, Iron Hat for you guys on the Autobot side, just because he's not getting hacked. Um, if he dies, he's going to come back, and it's going to take a lot to kill him. So, um, common sense pairing for me. I always look at what the bot does well. In this case, the bot does health points well. So, I already got Bludgeon as a major, I think. Yeah, I got him as a major. So might as well keep rolling with them. And then of course y'all know you can't go. It's not a live stream if you don't talk about Rod U. But I got him up there. Uh, right now I got him with Sky Boom, but I also got him with Liege Maximo. Same reason. Don't want him to get hacked. And then he can hack some stuff too. Which brings me to my next point. And my next point is one of the changes that I made was on Scavenger. And Scavenger's DPS is just my combat is missing. I put the combat up there earlier and now it's missing. Or did I just put it on the wrong spot? So with him, I'm actually using the Cosmic Rust Blaster. And it's just like, hey man, I'm already, because with him, one of the strategies that I use, you can actually see one of my war attempts here. One of the strategies that I use there is that, oops. One of the strategies I use here is with Swindle and with Scavenger. I basically do kind of like what I call a high-low strategy. So, like everything with Scavenger, I use short, and everything with Swindle, I use longer range. So, it always allows me the opportunity to conserve ability points because I'm using it all the time. Okay, Nemesis got his block like that also. Yeah, I just figured because like I see a lot of with Blot, I usually see a lot of Quintus or I see a lot of Micronus and stuff like that. But all of that said, like I use the Cosmic Rust Blaster here on Scavenger, um, and I kind of just changed topics, but I kind of use that here just because I do use his fire at short range. So if I wind up hitting that particular zone, then I wind up getting that additional damage. Plus, his damage is not that high anyway. So I like to keep the Cosmic Rust Blaster on my team. G1 works well. If I wasn't using G1, I'd probably just use Alchemist. But G1 works because I know that I'm going to destroy some. I know that I'm going to destroy some stuff up front with Scavenger, so he's going to heal. Now, a change that I made is, and I got to decide if I want to do this long term or not, but I actually use Tiptop here, which is, I had this earlier. Peacemaker. That's Peacemaker for you guys on the Autobot side. And for me, one of the things that I was looking at, and you can actually see that in one of my other replays, is timing wise, um, when I clear the front half of a base, typically what happens here is if I beat the front half of a base, by the time that 45 seconds goes by for Tip Top Peacemaker to come in and do their thing, typically what's going to happen is the 45 seconds is going to be up, and by the time the outpost bots pop out, um, I'll be able to hack them again. Now, this one's a little bit front loaded, so it might be a little bit different, but that's kind of what I was looking at. On a split base, that'll be exactly what I would do. I would get a second opportunity to hack. And granted, I want to use him on defense too, so it might be something where I do a core swap after the war starts. But yeah, I don't want to, because sometimes, especially when you run into situations like where you get stuck trying to get to HQ, if every 45 seconds, you know, that hack goes on off, then you can go into a situation where they might start turning back towards the headquarters. Oh yeah, man. How did Shock Bomb? How did the nephew's football game go? I said you said the nephew had a football game. All right, Fox the Bomb says he recently pulled Scavenger and is in progress. Um, I would use caution. Well, you pulled them now, but my caution point for that is if they do decide to later on nerf, because a lot of people are using it. Um, I be kind of moderate with the investment until December comes and goes when they go do that. When they go look at another patch. Other than that, though, like I already had mine, and that's why I started using mine. But that's my only word of caution with that. He said, "I'm sure he is." Oh damn, they won 42-16. Yeah, y'all say, yeah, y'all played y'all tail off today. All right, so hey, brother Concrete, one of my good friends and members, joined. Thanks for joining, buddy. He says he's late like always. That's all good, man. And I said I'll be up here on the replay. And let's see. Yeah, and that's the thing, man. When everybody's be talking about these nerfs and everything, the biggest thing for me, because, like, let's be honest, what Scavenger does isn't overwhelming. It's just the fact that they gave him, like, really, really good range. And, you know what I'm saying? They didn't give him anything crazy, but that AoE is so wide now, and they gave him such good range that it makes it it can make it a little bit uncomfortable for some folks. I'll say that. I'll go into zone 15 because I probably use just him. So I don't think they're gonna try to destroy him. But like, let's be honest. You know, that that's a huge area, bro. Like, I don't think we've ever seen anything quite like that in Transformers Earth Wars. So, you know, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would think they would just reduce the area a little bit, but and the ability just don't cost that much either. It don't cost that much. So, but now you can just sit there and do nothing while Megatronus Prime and Scavenger and Tripticon just do all the rest of the work. Yeah, Michael Cooper says Scavenger is just about right, still not in a hurry to pull him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not going. If I didn't have him, like because I had him and I already had him, I can't remember which level I had him in because between Scavenger and um, Swindle, I had one of them at level 61 when the patch came out, and I had the other one at level 2 when the patch came out. So once I start getting past that point where I don't have to go use any skips or anything like that, like I'll max them out then, no problem, even if it's just for 3 or 4 months. Now, if I had to go pull them from scratch, nah, I wasn't doing all that because knowing my luck, it'd been the last spot I pulled, and I ain't doing all that. And then I knowing there's a December patch coming, but I'm not afraid of stuff getting nerfed. Um, I'll use this stuff while it's in the meta. I'll use some non-meta stuff too. So, but yeah, it was tough for me changing this team around. Just because like I really, really wanted to fit Exhaust in there, but Exhaust been acting up, man. Exhaust starts running away from the pack. Exhaust just starts doing exhaust stuff, and then I realized with the kind of squad I had, I didn't even really need the additional healing. So what I wind up doing is I wind up going back to flatline, just because what was happening to me a lot of times is I do everything right, but I start getting hacked by Peacemaker and Tiptop. So I bought Flatline back, even though he doesn't have as much direct healing as Hook, but I can still use that healing tower. Um, Even though it's over time, like it seems like I survive a little bit better with the tower than I do with the instant one, just because it's 15 seconds long. And so yeah, a lot of people looking at Andrew Stevenson's comment. Yeah, a lot of people use Cosmos on defense, especially in Top War. So yeah, he's really good. And for me, that's one of the reasons. That's one of the things that honestly I don't want to say I'm scared of because I do really well in my wars, but it's one of those things that's right in the front of my mind is where is Cosmos because usually he's gonna be in the same spot on most bases, but been a couple of times where people stuck him in the back or something like that, or but definitely good on defense after his after the work they did on him. But yeah, I agree with you. Fingers crossed, not too much nerf. I mean, I think they looked at most of the stuff the first time, but I think that they always gonna take a look. Me personally, I'd rather see people. I'd rather see the team try to make counters for stuff through war effects or whatever it looks like, um, as opposed to nerfs. But sometimes they're necessary. So, I see a couple people saying they still using Predacon Inferno. Yeah, I mean Predacon Inferno, like I used it at first too. Um, and it still is usable. It is expensive to use him, but for Predacon Inferno, it's just the damage was never the problem. Lowering the damage, even though people don't like that, lowering the damage is never the problem because he's still doing almost 11.5k of damage. So you don't have a lot of items. You don't have items to do have more HP than that for the most part. And if you do, it's stuff that you were already going to probably combo with something else. So for me, he's definitely still usable. He's just expensive as fuck. So that initial cost is expensive, like goodness. And the thing is, um, mm, I didn't really have a problem with them costing 7 as much as I did. Is like, but I think, man, like at this point, yeah, you can use them like twice, and then you're probably not gonna be able to use them again. And that's the thing. Big Blade says Mind Wipe is easy to deal with, just stun them. And I was like, bro, like I was doing that, and then like I just can't get it to work anymore. To be honest with you, I'm gonna try it again though to see if that's what I was doing, because that's all I used to do was just stun them. But all right, guys, I am going to go ahead and watch some football and call it a night. Um, like, make sure you guys tune in next week. I don't know what's going to be going on yet, but I said I'll be back, and then I want to try to work on some more videos this later on this weekend, but it might not be this weekend. It depends on how day one of the event goes for me. So, but anyway, I will see you next week, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Freezius out.